You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Reverie 73, Lowell's #1 cannabis shop. Elevate your cannabis experience at Reverie 73. Hafner's, heating and cooling homes and businesses for nearly a century. Hafner's, it kicks. And by Boston North Company, restaurant and retail solutions for your business. That's Boston North. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from our beautiful studios here in downtown Lowell, historic downtown Lowell. Got the band together again. If you see them across your screens there, left to right, Jack Mitchell, Mikaela Hondros-McCarthy, Mike Bacigalupo, a.k.a. Batch, together again with me as the Pod Squad. Hi, gang. How are y'all?
Great.
How you doing? Good evening.
Good to see you all. Jack and I recorded an election podcast earlier that's up on the website, InsideLowell.com. Check that one out. Check out all of our podcasts. Check out all of our reporting. Lots going on in the Mill City. Where do you guys want to start?
You wrote it all down.
I did. Yeah. You're going to just follow my notes here. All right. The topic that's dominated our text thread, our group text thread, the topic I think is going to dominate the next month, especially once that ADU vote is finally taken and done away with, and that is the migrants are coming, the migrants are coming. One if by land, two if across the Rio Grande, I don't know how it goes.
I think by airplane now.
Right at the border,
Yeah.
Right in through Logan Airport, which, by the way, you are very correct about a lot of that. But all right, so what are we touched on this, I think, briefly in the last Pod Squad, but now it's starting to really become a hot topic. Little divide between the city council and the state delegation. We've got 2 letters. I'm told there's a 3rd letter being written, a revision of the delegation.
Jesus, I was going to say, who's left?
So let's kind of start with the fallout of this. What are your thoughts, Jack? Let me start with you. You're usually the most opinionated of the bunch.
Okay. It's complicated. That's what I always say, and I'm going to stick to it. I think what's happening here is a strange sort of nexus of local and national politics. I think a lot of the decisions that are being made for the city of Lowell, because of the origins of the migrants or the refugees, right? This is reflection of sort of the fight over what happens at our border, and I think people are stressed out about what are going to be very real challenges to the local economy and sort of the economic well-being of Lowell, in terms of what kind of impact that might have, and like being right next to the downtown like that, right? If it was put in Chelmsford, I don't think anybody would have anything to say. But because of that, I think people are letting some of their national politics, gut instincts fester in the local conversation.
Mikaela?
I agree with Jack. I don't know. This is a really complicated topic, like you said. There needs to be a good amount of planning that goes into what sort of resources it's going to take. I do think that it can be something that is a positive thing for the city if it's handled correctly, and we have the resources to take people in. But yeah, it needs to be more. This is all I'll say about it. All the more I'll say about it. I think that before people jump to conclusions based on their national politics and what they, I think people should just take a deep breath and try to get a better understanding of the details of the situation rather than just close the borders and no, like, and whatever conclusions they're going to jump to. I think we can all benefit from taking a moment, reading an opposing view than the one that we're fed through whatever media source we consume, and just take a deep breath and try to digest information rather than jumping to conclusions right away.
Batch, can we, inject some common sense into this conversation?
Well, I do have one.
In case you folks can't tell out there in the audience.
I do.
It breaks down these two versus Batch and I on the text.
And this has been a hot topic. That's why I brought these grapes, so that we can all
Gather with the grapes.
I just sneezed. I'd pick that up.
Thank you, Mikaela.
Yeah,
delicious.
we want to all just be like not hungry and angry. We can be just angry now.
No, I'm still pretty hungry.
You made grapes with a little caramel and cinnamon.
It's not caramel. It's dates. It's a little bit of nut butter, almond butter, cinnamon, nutmeg, and pumpkin pie spice, and a little bit of salt.
They're very good.
And you
wicked
put it in
good,
a blender, and that's it. It's like a caramel apple.
And I like that you chilled the grapes.
It's very good.
I did. I didn't put them in the freezer because that can hurt people's teeth. So I didn't want people to be toothless and angry and hungry. So
Shut up, Batch. All right, give me the migrants are coming.
So I do have one question though. So right now, does that mean everything that's scheduled at the ICC is like the function hall part is gone?
Yes, they stopped booking new events. They canceled a couple in August. From what I understand, our friend Brady McCarron and the Lions might be on September 30th, the final event held there. The Chamber of Commerce has one there this week.
Okay.
And Brady it was touch and go for Brady. He was telling me, but they did get word that on September 30th, their event is going on as planned at the Lions Club. After that, I don't think there's anything else.
So that's a problem, that there's no more function spot really in Lowell. The other thing I was thinking is that now, if you think about it, the tallest buildings in Lowell, once this becomes a permanent migrant center, are going to be the ICC, which will be, the migrant center, the low-income housing, that's the, what is it called now?
River Place?
River Place, and a dorm, and then a courthouse. I mean, it's at a senior center, the Sun Building. Like, those are our tallest buildings. I mean, there's no real, gleaming thing of commercial enterprises in Lowell. It's all, every tall building in Lowell will have some kind of...
the Christmas tree, the smokestack.
I don't think that counts.
Well,
But
thank the National Historic Park for that, because you're not building anything taller than whatever in the
But I just think it shows you that all of these things, it was it used to be a hotel, the Sun Building. Well, I guess the apartments were torn down or built after whatever that thing was in the 50s and 60s, urban renewal. But it's just kind of symbolic of what's going on with the city, that it's just,
So Jack and Mikaela said this is national politics converging on Lowell. Of course, everything that happens nationally affects every place, but especially cities like Lowell, big cities. You can't have a policy that's letting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people come into your country with very little resources and not have it affect communities. I don't know how we get away, regardless of where you stand on the issues. Do you Mikaela and Jack, you're okay with this whole thing? You're not like they shouldn't come here.
Right.
Is that an accurate assessment?
I'm not a close the border guy.
Okay. And you're okay with them coming into the Inn and Conference Center?
Generally, conceptually, I am. I think the thing is that Lowell made a decision years ago, right? And maybe that's where you were sort of going, where there was a group of thought leaders at a time that made a decision to invest in poverty being business in Lowell. And plenty of people got fat off the lamb, but now they don't like the taste because it's getting beyond what they think is reasonable. But for decades, they were all happy to have the, because we don't make anything anymore in Lowell. It used to make stuff, right? Wang went under, Joan Patrick's gone, Spaghetti, Prince Spaghetti is gone, right? So we turned stuff into basically meat widgets. We're making they're meat widgets. We bring them in, we butter them up or fix them up, and then maybe they go, right?
And 8 balls, we make 8 balls.
And so not to reduce a human being to a product, right? But in some respect, that's what it is. And Lowell's made a decision and reinvested in this model. Gateway cities got kind of invented, the idea of a gateway city, after Lowell had already committed to all of this. And so now you're kind of, the chickens have come home to roost.
Oh, okay, but is nobody going to admit the obvious that this is not sustainable? Not just for Lowell, but for the United States of America. Listen, guys, we can talk about hatred and xenophobia and Trumpism, build that wall, etc. The mayor of New York City last week basically said this is going to destroy New York City. And he wasn't talking about the fact that they were migrants coming in from Haiti or Venezuela or whatever. He was talking about the fact that you cannot have that many people, tens of thousands of people every month pouring into a city and expect anything good to come out of that. There are just not enough resources.
Right. It's not a
I
good,
don't care what
it's not a
anybody
good
says.
way to do it.
For Lowell, that's going to be 200 families, whatever that number translates to, 700 people or whatever, coming in on a regular basis. And then obviously they can take in, I know they're coming to 80 communities, right? Woburn and eventually Chelmsford and they've been in Methuen. Mayor Adams, while he caught some crap, he actually gave some interesting numbers.
Was that?
In New York.
13.8 billion is going to be his budget gap in 2025 alone. And he says 6.1 billion of that is going to be due to migrant-related costs.
I wonder.
Now, first of all, the budget's a mess anyway, but 6.1 billion. The mayor of Chicago, again, not a Trumper, not a Republican, a good Democrat, right? He says Chicago's burgeoning migrant crisis will cost taxpayers more than $250 million by December 31st. Lowell's numbers won't be that big. But do we think that Lowell's budget, as is now, can sustain any additional costs that clearly aren't getting reimbursed?
Well, what are the costs going to? Because so my understanding of the costs that are directly going to migrant rehousing is it's $2,400 per person over the course of 90 days. So that's about $26 a day. And so this is the time that refugees, people coming in, are given to get some sort of job security, get housing, get on their feet, 90 days, right? And the model is different. I agree with you that it's not sustainable because the model now is different. The community, so when your parents came over, there was like a sort of like a sponsorship situation where you had a community built in. A big part of people succeeding in this country when they come over here is that there's some sense of community. There's like people that are also trying to get started and give each other, help, and people that are here. And I don't think that same model exists today. And I don't think the quality of the jobs is as good as it used to be.
Right.
You probably touch down and you get sent to a meatpacking facility or an Amazon warehouse and you're working 15-hour days from 7 a.m. to 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And where do you go? Where do you build yourself up from there? It's a different situation.
That would be great if the jobs actually existed. You'd say, okay, and we've got some jobs. We need a few more dishwashers or servers in the local restaurants. The Cape needs some people to work seasonally. But that's if you're one of these families, okay. Do you go out and fill one of those jobs, or do you take the $2,200 a month for as long as they'll give it to you, and then the real valuable stuff, the health insurance and the housing?
Wait, that's what $2,200 a month?
They give them. It's a $2,200 stipend, I believe, a month is what they give.
Build on that they're just going to be dead asses and they're not going to be active.
Well, but if they,
why would you? If you were one of these folks, why would you go work?
Because they have pride, or
because
something.
you don't want to be a burden on society.
Like people,
you come here to this country to make.
Well, they're not going to have working.
You think they're coming here? So you think the fact that they're eligible, they're eligible for all this stuff, isn't an incentive for them to come to this country?
Well, it is a good place to go.
You know what? I don't know what is in the thoughts and minds of people that have an idea of America in their minds of like prosperity, and they probably think that this country is something that it no longer is.
But even put it aside, whatever the motivation is or whatever, right? If they've got, what is it, 90 days, you said? Is that what it is?
90 days. Yeah.
I thought it was more than that.
They get 2 years. If
Okay.
you have a child, you're a mother with child, you've got at least 2 years.
What if you're not a mother with a child?
Guaranteed in
How long
housing.
do you have if you're not a mother with a child?
That I can't answer.
Okay, so you're basing the 2 years on mother with child. So
But
that is misleading.
But that's what we're bringing into the Inn and Conference Center. Families.
Okay.
It's family.
Well, regardless, so you know that there's a time limit on it, there's a whatever. So let's say at the end of let's say 50% of the people get themselves straightened out and they're doing fine. Then once that time period's over and they stop being asylum seekers or migrants, now they're just a regular homeless. If they haven't been able to adapt. So we already know that there's 20,000 families en masse that we haven't been able to straighten out, but we're adding to that. And
that's the point I'm trying to make. Where are they going to move out to? Where are they going to move on to? Where's the affordable housing going to come?
I just want to go back when you said, we know, you basically said, we know Lowell is going to get stuck with the tab on this. And we don't know that. Do we know that Lowell will bear some of the, will it be burden sharing? Yes. All right. But Lowell has taken all the money for poverty as big business all these years. And if they have to pay something right now, so I'm pushing back on that. Your point about, or both your points about, at some point they have to leave the Inn and Conference Center. And the people that are trying to sort of finagle their way through this transition from UMass Lowell to the state, that think that there's going to be some sort of pot of gold at the end of this migrant rainbow with the ICC, those people are not going to leave in 8 months or 18 months. How long do you think they're going to be there?
well, probably some of
3
them.
years?
At the ICC.
Depends. Some of them.
Do we want to take square, not square?
Well, so
Well,
the way I understand is they eventually move out. Because again, I don't care whether you want to take advantage of the system or whether you want to work and make a better life for your
Right.
family. A hotel's not the ideal place to raise a
I don't
family.
think everybody's going to stay
You're
there.
stuck in a
The idea
room,
is
you're
to get
eating in a
something like that.
communal kitchen. So you're going to eventually start seeking housing. And people do funnel through. But
Totally.
and they're not all going to leave at the same. Not all 200 families are going to funnel out of there. You'll get 10 in a month.
And will anybody come from
4
another
the next
country
month.
to backfill that
So
empty room?
that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you don't close the border and change your immigration policy, then you're just going to perpetually keep those rooms full and low.
Well, you don't even have to close a border or change your immigration policy. You need to enforce the policies that are already there. I mean, it takes, what is it? I was listening to RFK Jr. He was talking about was it 2 years? I know you roll your eyes. Was it 2 years?
Don't say those dirty 4-letter words.
But it takes a long time to get a hearing, right? To determine if you're an asylum seeker, to determine what
sometimes 7 years.
Right. I mean, that's the process. The process is flawed. They're not enforcing what's already on the books, and yet they're just kind of.
Everybody knows that immigration reform was right up there since, I don't know, Gore and Bush, right? Immigration reform has been talked about just as much as healthcare reform. But Romney Care versus, Romney / Obama, whatever, right? That got through. But immigration reform has been on the books for a long time. It can just never make it through because of the way some of our politics works, right? I'm not going to blame any particular party. I have a preference, but I'll just to stay away from that, right? It's not that we just enforce the laws that we have. That's like when we're dealing with vagrancy or the guys down there bumming for money on the corner. All right, those are laws that we can enforce. Or the kids riding the motorcycles up and down the street. Those are ordinances and laws that we can enforce.
You don't think you can inform asylum laws?
Can you enforce them?
Yeah, I mean, people have to wait. If you have to wait 7 years to get a hearing, I mean,
Economic hardship is not a reason for asylum.
right.
Look,
It's been changed. It's become accepted if you say the right things now. So you've completely changed. What Batch is saying is 100% true.
I know a woman that came here, for lack of a better word, as a wetback, but she came in on a fake visa, right? When the immigration was catching up to her, She told a story about how she was a teacher where she came from, or she was an administrator at a school, and she found out that the principal of the school was embezzling the money that was supposed to be going towards some sort of big betterment project, right? And that if she went back to where she came from, she would be killed, all right? There's the problem is not necessarily, and who do you think taught her that? An American lawyer. Like, we're going to go around and around on this. The problem is not necessarily...
Or the drug mules who take their money to the border, rape the women and the kids, right, and whatnot.
That's not good. But the problem,
of course not.
The way to skin the cat of the American immigration law is through the mules that you have that hang around at the courthouse, that are the immigration attorneys. All right? It's not one person to demonize or to blame. There's a whole system, and the wolves come in to feast. You just prefer to pick on the most destitute, desperate, most
the whole system. We're not prepared for this. We're not.
I'm picking on the politicians that are continuing to go along while a broken system is destroying, in many ways, communities in the country.
It's not doing the people any favor.
And it's not doing these people any favor either. Some are coming here for nefarious reasons, but I'm not gonna say it's the majority. Okay,
the vast minority. Say that.
There's enough to create. Listen, when you're smuggling fentanyl across the border, and you're smuggling drug dealers and gangbangers from other lands
inside the border already.
Correct.
That's already.
But you don't. Yeah. But why? So why would you add to the problem? If you already have a problem, why are you going to add to it?
I mean, I think there's more of a problem already here than was ginger.
Of course there is. But why do we keep? But why would you allow any more of it?
I think it's a small drop in the bucket of what. I don't think it's like a. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that this like fear mongering about fentanyl coming around, coming.
It is not fear. So the mayor of New York is fear mongering?
No, that's a different.
The mayor of Chicago is fear mongering.
Well, that's a different.
Demonizing them as disease-ridden, drug carrying, right? That's all garbage. I am not saying that out of 1,000 immigrants, there aren't some fraction, single people, tens of people that fit your description, right? But the vast, vast, vast majority are people that are coming here scared shitless with hope in their hearts, waiting to do the work to make themselves better. Because I know enough of them that have come here and they cannot believe the opportunities that are in front of them. And when the dead-ass Americans are just sitting around how to live off the fucking social safety net, and these immigrants come in, right? They're not looking to jump on the tit like you think they all are.
Okay. They're all willing to work, right?
Not all. All right. I use the word all, right?
Let's
the majority of these people.
90% of them are willing to work, okay?
Yep. So, which is why Maura Healey is trying to pester the administration to clear the hurdles for.
Why is the National Guard coming in to work
because they don't have CTI or whoever, because they're going to help do the intake process.
Okay, and who's going to clean the rooms? So they just laid off the staff at the ICC, right?
So here, Teddy, you're making a point. Okay, you're making a good point.
So if they're here to work, we can put them to work right away, helping to administer the food.
How do you know they don't?
Exactly.
Because I know they don't. That's not what it's done.
But okay, Teddy, you're too.
Well, that's what the National Guard is here for.
No, the National Guard isn't going to be slinging fucking hash browns and eggs, are they?
Oh, yes, they are.
You know what they've been brought into?
Well,
there's a difference of fear mongering and generalizing the character of these people that are coming in unfairly, and fear mongering of the scarcity of resources that we are equipped with to deal with them when they come in.
Bingo.
And one is legitimate.
Yes.
The other is xenophobic.
Yes.
One is legitimate.
It's not xenophobia. It's reality. You can't.
No, the scarcity of resources is reality.
I don't care where they're coming in from. That's when you.
Yeah, that's.
Well, if they were coming from Greece, it wouldn't be.
No, I wouldn't. Keep them out first and foremost. None of them are coming. I've seen them up close. Exactly, I've seen them. They're not coming here like they were in the old days. There's different reasons they're coming here. There's And I think you're
They're
naive.
coming here for a handout.
Because it's a lot better here than it is to have to go
That's the
somewhere
problem.
else.
There's an opportunity here.
But that's
No,
a problem.
there isn't
That's a
anymore.
problem that-
There
The
is.
opportunity is gone.
That's not
the
true.
opportunity is in STEM fields and
But
the future.
Teddy-
There's no opportunity for those here who don't have the skill
Teddy,
or the education
Your
to do it anymore.
your anger is misdirected.
It's not anger, trust me.
No, your distrust, your anger, whatever it is misdirected. Your anger is with the system that gives the handouts, not with the people coming in that are taking advantage of
Yeah. But if you keep letting them in, you're saying that
So
we need
stop-
them to come in, or else we will never survive as a country
So
if they don't come in.
your argument should not
We
be
didn't
what I'm
say
saying
that.
misdirected. Your argument should be our system should be set up so that people are not as able to take advantage of it.
It was.
Not
It was.
all these people are coming in just for a handout.
He
It should
worked
not-
out a deal with Mexico that they would remain in Mexico and they would go through the asylum process. They could still make their claims, but they would
Who's
go
he?
through
You mean
that.
Biden?
The name we can't say because it'll trigger Jack's TDS.
Oh, you said-
Donald Trump's remain in Mexico policy, which Joe Biden changed immediately. Now they come across the border and they go through that 7-year process that Batch talked about, except who's going to feed them, house them, clothe them, give them medicine for those 7 years? We are. Trump had worked out a deal where this was happening in Mexico and it was working. And it was
Did you
done
read
away
about
with.
any of the horror stories that were coming out of Mexico? Or do you
Sure.
think that was proper?
Sure,
They're still happening.
let me tell you about some horror stories that are still happening, my friend. The mayor of Chicago is going to put tent cities. They're going to sleep in tents. The mayor of New York is going to put mothers and children in tents in New York,
Right.
in Central Park, or in other neighborhoods in New
that's
York.
what-
The horror is still
Can we
going
talk?
on.
Are we going to talk
Because
reality?
again-
We're going to talk this flowery American
But
dream
you've
thing?
ignored all the stuff that happened when Trump was president.
Yeah, but it's still going on. It's not a cakewalk anymore. You're still going to pay a coyote to get you across, and it's still getting taken advantage
Most of
of.
the people that come in illegally on airplanes, not
Through the
right
airport.
back in it. All right.
Can we bring this back to like the local? Like this is what I meant about the whole like national. And I know it's national,
But it's
policy,
affecting you in Lowell.
I totally get it. But here we are on a Lowell show debating national policy, which we do, but I think it's taking up too much time. And I don't
It's
know
the
why.
business model that Lowell has adopted. So stop crying about
I
it.
don't think Lowell. I think now that Lowell may have thought they adopted it, but I think now that Lowell is seeing it up close and personal at their Sainted Inn and Conference Center.
So I want to.
Now suddenly you're starting to see Lowell, and by the way, it's not the Trumpers who are the most vocal, like they can't come here.
I want to go back
Folks.
to something that Batch talked about people that are already in line or in queue, right?
The ones you hate, the ones you say are just lollygaggers.
The lollygaggers.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know why
pay-
they can't pay for their own shit, but we.
But that's what you said. You basically
You know what?
characterize
I
them
actually
all.
know the answer to that because the founders lied when they said all men are created equal. We're not all created equal. In America, we're all given the same opportunity to maximize our potential, but we're not all given the same potential. So if you think every human is just made to be Tom Brady or
I don't
whatever,
think that.
right? No, I'm not saying you. I'm talking to those people out there, the people that are not in the room
We
right
made a clear distinction
Okay.
between the migrants or asylum seekers that are coming here
And the dead
to
asses.
work, and the ones that have been here.
Yeah.
And because they're in that situation, it's because they didn't try hard enough. That's
Well,
basically what you're saying.
just like I think, all right, and I'll own it. Fuck it. 95% of the immigrants are coming here with hope in their heart, and they'll work hard to take what the American dream is. Right? It might take generations. I think the people that are living in sort of poverty right now, that 95% of them have settled.
There weren't a lot of those
They have
immigrants.
settled.
When did they be? When did it?
What percentage of that? Because we kept allowing people to pour in when we did away with. We lost all of our manufacturing, went overseas, went God knows where. All these things the shoe factories, whatever. My parents came here. My mother was supposed to be a teacher. They told her, guess what? Your job won't be ready till next year. My parents both worked shoe factories, but at least those places existed. Those don't even exist anymore. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is if we don't to sit here and hear all
Wait,
these.
what places don't exist anymore?
The shoe factory, the Joan Fabrics. These
Prince
places
Spaghetti.
don't exist. They're all
Wait, so,
over,
like,
all
we
these
have-
jobs are
We
overseas
have
now.
tons of the Amazon fulfillment facilities are like those are our modern day factories. We have those jobs.
Those aren't good paying jobs. Just ask
I
Local
agree they are.
449.
I agree.
Right, so you guys are fighting back, but how many of those jobs will exist? How many more, like, how much are you going to pay somebody to stock a shelf at an Amazon fulfillment factory or load a truck?
Oh, it's a horrible job. I'm just saying that I'm saying that like the jobs for what you would probably call unskilled labor, those jobs do exist. They just suck. They don't pay well. They have no health benefits.
We don't have enough to justify what we've got here. Plus, to an ode to Jack, the unskilled labor we have here that isn't incentivized
They're not.
to go do something either. So we're just going to keep creating more problems?
There's the unskilled labor of the teenage worker that comes from the middle class family, and the middle class think it's insulting to their pride for their kid to go do a shit job, right? So then now you have people that are. I went into Wendy's. You go down to Wendy's on Route 133, the one in just on Andover by Daly, right by the high tension wires by Daly's little farm there, right? There's a woman there. She's been at Wendy's, no shit, 25 years. All right. My kids were infants when we started going through there because we used to go to North Reading a lot, right? She's still there. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's part of her bread and butter is saying you want fries with that. She doesn't speak very good English, right?
So
She probably has a happy.
She probably
has a
comes-
happy
I'm not saying she's middle.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're
But
saying
you
that.
come
but
from a generation where if that's what you have to do is flip the burgers or take the fries out or work the drive-through window, you did it.
Well,
and you might go get a second job as well because you got to put food on the table. Those days are kind of gone here in America.
To finish that story, because I don't know, and this is what I hope, not amongst all hopes, right? Because I hope for myself and mine before I hope for others. But I'd like to meet her children. What would make me super happy is if her kids were in college,
yeah.
right? And she was slinging fries in a Wendy drive-through, and her kids were getting degrees, and that there was that generational investment, right? I guess I'd be happier if her kids got jobs slinging fries while they went through college, right?
Yeah.
That would be the dream. Of course, those poor kids will probably be $150,000 in debt and be a women's studies or DEI major.
Hopefully they went to the hook.
And they'll just have
Hopefully HVAC.
But back to the people that were waiting. Can we talk about the people
Yes.
waiting in line and the migrants kind of bumping the line?
because we got a bunch of we spent the first year of Inside Lowell trying to solve the homeless issue that we already had.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't care about that anymore.
I mean, look,
We were able to turn that hotel on the snap of a finger.
Well, that's just it. Like, what happened? I mean, you could have had all those families, you know.
Priorities.
And a lot of those people got thrown out of the house because, it's not that they weren't working. They just couldn't afford the rent anymore. I mean, it's not.
are we talking about Branch Street?
Well, no, I mean, I just think we're not equipped to handle what's coming. I think we could handle what's coming better if we actually straighten shit out. And we just don't straighten stuff out. We just keep piling on. And the worst of it is, I feel like if Massachusetts is a house, right? It'd be a colonial, unfortunately. But like above where the attic is like $495, and it's like Beacon Hill just puts all the shit up in the attic, or all not shit, but like all the things they don't want to deal with up in the attic. They put it all above $495. Like that's like, let's put everything under there, and the basement's like New Bedford. Like there's a way in which Beacon Hill push the
I'm
problems
actually
to the
buying
edge.
into this. I'm buying into
But the
this.
living room and the TV room and
Yeah.
the 70-inch TV and the master bedroom
the
has
parlor.
a jacuzzi.
The
Yeah.
parlor.
That's maybe onto something.
It's true. Think about it. I mean,
Call them gateway cities, but
yeah,
really,
Lowell, Lawrence.
the attic in the basement.
Yeah, you come out here every 4 years to campaign, and we send you plenty of money. I mean, it's kind of like Lowell. You know, listen, we've done a lot. You know, we've got a lot going on here, and again, if you said, hey, there's going to be, remember I think it was the Iraqis came. I think it was like 20 or 30 families. Right. Handled it really well. Like it was manageable.
The vote from Miramar too, and I remember stories that
and
they didn't even know. Like,
and the Syrians, that was what, 100 Syrians.
Wait, is it? Can I ask a dumb question? Is that the Burmese or is that?
Yeah, that's the
all
Burmese.
right. Sorry,
Yeah, I was trying to be politically correct.
I couldn't remember which one was.
Yeah.
Which one's the right one to say?
But you're talking about waves of thousands every month now coming into Massachusetts.
Right, there's a way to do
hundreds in Lowell.
We're equipped to
There's
handle
no
that.
end game. That's the part that bothers me.
let me
There's
ask a
no
question.
end game to this.
Let me ask a
with
question.
Governor Healy or the guy in the White House.
But the people from Miramar, like, I'm sorry, but people from Miramar, like, they were like, you want to talk about asylum seekers, Syrians? Those people are having some trouble.
Yes,
you
but
know?
Are you trying to push like red tide and like you just said, Lowell's going to get screwed royal, and there's no end to it with Governor Healy and the guy in the White House.
Yep.
So really, like, you don't have an answer.
I do.
Oh, close the border.
Well, you got to stop. You got the pipe is broken. The house is flooding. Turn the water off.
Can I ask a
If you don't turn the water off, anything we discuss is useless.
And I'm saying-
Somebody has to be an adult and tell the guy in the White House or whoever's pulling the strings, stop. We can't do anymore. Mayor Adams is trying to do that. These are good Democrats trying to tell him, we can't do this anymore, Joe. And they're telling you how much it's costing, which to me is an indication that Joe hasn't promised the money yet either. So I'm not sure Maura's going to get the money on Beacon Hill to give to Tommy at City Hall.
Hypothetically, what would a prepared city look like? What would you need in order? Let's work backwards.
Bunch of new school buildings for
Okay. All
starters.
right. Okay.
Well, I don't think you need if you would take.
How about some like actual like HVAC systems in the school building?
How about a little land to build housing on,
Carlisle.
to house everybody?
Concord.
No, I think I don't think you need new school buildings, but I think you need to look at.
Oh, you do. Your middle schools and elementary schools won't be able to handle.
You need to beef up
coming.
your fire and police.
You're saying what's coming.
What's coming?
I'm saying what I think we can handle is when you've got waves of people that are like, I don't know, 20, 30. Like there's a smaller number of families that you can take on that we're equipped to handle.
You need social workers. You need facilities. You need placement.
And by the way, I'm not opposed to the idea of the migrant center. If you follow the settlement house model from back in whenever that was, those are some pretty cool ideas. And there was some bad parts about them too. But generally, the idea of being able to get people in, get them acclimated, get them skills, hopefully retain their culture should be part of it. I don't think it used to be, but there's a way to do all that. But
Like a refugee welcome center.
Yeah, I mean, settlement house thing.
That could be managed.
I mean,
what's
but not
like this.
What's better equipped to handle more refugees than a city that has been rebuilt by refugees in the first place?
It's too many at once.
We're not talking refugees. Refugees you control. The United States government controls the refugee program.
I prefer to call them
There's
refugees.
a finite number. We're talking just about, and by the way, this is not just the United States problem. This is a Western
Europe's really
culture.
struggling with it.
Europe, they're basically finding their way into Europe, and because now you can get across any country in Europe because they have open borders.
Is under assault.
No, people are flooding into places that simply are overdeveloped to the point
Because
of they
of
can't handle
climate
it.
change.
Yeah, that's right. They're all climate refugees. I mean, the wave of
That is
nations.
real- that is-
When was that last earthquake in Haiti? By the way, because I keep hearing, how can we?
Last year.
We're trying to save the folks.
There
from
was a big
Haiti.
one in like 2010. That was
2010,
when
yeah.
Team Rubicon kind of came.
And they're still
into
coming.
being.
And they're still
And
coming.
but that was a big one. But then there's been some other ones that have
So we better bring some Moroccans.
Wouldn't it be
in, too.
cheaper just to take over Haiti? Can't we just take like a month's worth?
You're starting to sound like the military industrial complex.
What the fuck is that?
So
What's the
what if we
That's filling up body bags of the 80s.
No.
What is that?
All right, so let's take a month's worth of money we send to Ukraine. We can go in.
This is
We
dumb
can
already.
we can just
Yeah, 'cause
we
we
can
gotta
just
give
establish
Ukraine
ourselves in.
Oh, don't go to the Ukraine thing. But
Couldn't we say, hey, you guys are having some trouble. We're gonna come in and we're gonna take over.
Oh, don't worry. We're here to help because we're doing a real good
Yeah,
job.
why not?
Batch, you're highlighting perfectly the insanity of both our national, but even our local policy, because the local politicians won't speak up about it. Like we've had a homeless issue for a year now that's dominated discussion, but yet we find a home for the illegal immigrants coming into the
They're
country.
not illegal immigrants.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
It's
And that's why-
status to be
that's why-
determined.
They've managed to work
It's not
the asylum
illegal. It's
system,
not
but they're
illegal to seek asylum. That is not an illegal
Correct.
thing.
It is.
So stop
It is
saying
for economic opportunity. It is because of economics.
But they're going to wait 7 years to get a determination.
There's, if you change the wording, manipulate the system,
What is illegal about it?
you can't cross a border illegally.
They were in. You said that Trump kept them in Mexico.
Trump had this stay in Mexico thing.
Okay.
I don't think
Now, there's still people
then
still
who let
flooding
them
through
across
the
the border?
airports.
And
as
who
you
let them
said.
across the border?
Now they're being brought across the border. As a matter of fact, today,
They're being brought, but that's by how?
yeah, so
They're not illegal
By
immigrants,
whom?
right?
So the mules are bringing them to the place where they can cross the border
Who's the mule? Are the
illegally.
mules? Are the mules?
The Mexican drug cartel.
They pay 5 to 10 grand to
you know,
come
again,
over.
I encourage everybody
So
out
who's
there.
letting the mules do it?
Who's letting the mules
Who's
do it?
letting the
well,
mules do it?
Ultimately the people here in America who have this insane system.
So it's
That
legal.
won't-
So so they're coming
No,
through via.
no. There's nothing legal about the system.
unenforceable.
Laws that aren't followed is not legal.
Kind of like drug use, right? The only reason why we're bringing cocaine into America is because Americans use cocaine. Well, no. You just said we're allowing the illegals to come into the nation because we have insane ideas.
Yeah,
Right?
you've got somewhere along the way,
so
Jack,
we're
politicians
facilitating-
in D.C.
we're
decided it
facilitating-
was okay to happen. It doesn't make it legal.
We're facilitating the flow of these folks into the country, right? Just like
100%.
we must facilitate the flow of cocaine in from Colombia.
So,
Well, the market.
Let me ask you a question. How did these migrant families get to Massachusetts? Do they walk up here?
No, Rich DeSantis sent them.
No, these aren't the ones DeSantis sent. Because the ones DeSantis sent, we got rid of pretty quickly because he sent them
No,
to where
they're
the
still
pretty
here.
people live.
They're still here.
Yeah, where? Are they on Donald Martha's Vineyard?
No, they're not
Okay.
there.
How much housing
there
is
agents-
in
aren't there
Martha's
agencies?
Vineyard now that's not going to be used
So
post-Labor
you're really
Day
going to go into a
to Memorial
classism
Day?
rant about?
Well, I'm just trying to wonder the people making these policies.
No, you're just
They're
trying to
not down on the vineyard.
demonize. Look, all you're doing is divisive political bullshit. All right, all you're doing is it's bullshit.
Sure.
And you're just hitting on
Sure.
your talking point.
Sure.
Lowell.
We need housing, don't we?
Look at Lowell has made an industry, whether you agree or not, to absorb these people. When you're paying 80 cents
Illegally?
when you're paying 20 cents on the dollar for your new schools, what's the rate that you get from the MSBA?
The deal wasn't to house.
What's the rate you get for
The deal wasn't to
MSBA?
house hundreds of illegals every
Gateway
year.
cities comes with other people's money.
Sure.
Lowell has taken
How's that
all
working
of
out
it.
for you?
This is the thing.
How's that
The
working out for
Merrimack
us?
River comes flowing down from New Hampshire, right? And no one has shit to say. Then every spring it rains or the snow melts and it bubbles up and it goes cascading over the dam, right? But every once in a while, the 100-year flood goes all over the place and the shit hits the fan. Well, you've got a 100-year flood of human beings right now. And, you know, it's gonna suck and then it's going to go away.
How's it going to go away? What's the incentive to make it go away? What's going to make it go away?
Well, since America is the best country in the world, the beacon of light to everyone across the world, all right, they're going to try to come here. They are. They've been doing it for centuries, right?
They'll stop coming when it sucks.
They came here and lived in somebody's house. There was a support network.
Was it an
to set them up.
ADU?
That's not true.
They didn't come here and get put up in a hotel.
That's not true.
Of course
It is sort of true, and that stuff that sort of thing did happen.
It's not
But you tell
1840
one
anymore,
version.
Jack.
You tell one immigrant story. I know plenty of illegal immigrants that came here and lived in apartments. They had
Yes.
sponsors. You know who sponsored them?
Yes.
Other illegal immigrants.
Yes. 100%.
And they took jobs.
Right. They weren't.
And they worked.
They weren't being put up in hotel
they
rooms without a kitchen.
Well, who
without
makes money off of that?
Who makes money off of what?
Who makes money off of immigrants in hotel rooms?
People who own the hotels. So we should subsidize that.
Yeah, the hotels are
wait.
making money hand over fist.
We should. This is a sane policy. You're worried about who's making the money off it. I'm telling you, it's an insane policy because we're all losing ultimately.
The thing is, though, is that because you want to reinforce your bullshit Republican talking points of closed borders, you're not talking about real things like who's waiting for Section 8 vouchers and what kind of houses are they getting? What's going to happen with winter protocol, right? Because remember winter protocol? Those rooms are not going to be available.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be full up.
That's
right?
exactly what I'm
Unless
saying.
all of a
Is that a Republican talking point?
No, but
okay.
you're focused on the border because you're trying to push the agenda of the border closure. You're not talking about dealing with what we're going to deal with here.
Right, but if
you don't close the border, you now have to deal with a worse problem than you had last
send them to
December.
fucking Indiana.
You've got to deal with a worse problem than you had last December, Jack, and you've just added thousands of people a month in the last calendar year.
And if you want to diss on Mike Dukakis, the Greek, right? If you want to shit on him for his right to shelter,
right to shelter.
right to shelter.
Did he
law,
pass right to shelter with thousands of illegal immigrants in mind? Is that what Mike Dukakis?
No, I think
No,
We're going to demonize Mike Dukakis.
It was 83.
In 1983, he thought we're going to just open the borders and have thousands of
we're
people
the
pour
only
in.
state in the union that has right to shelter.
Which is why
Yeah, we did it for our people here, our pregnant women here.
Wasn't that right after we kicked all the people out of the crazy houses?
Yeah,
No, that was before that.
Was that before that?
close. Close.
That was good.
You're in the same era.
Right.
It was after the
I think
deinstitutionalization.
we all need a little breathe.
I think we need some of
I think
Michaela's
everybody
thing.
needs a grape. I think everybody needs to take a breath. Okay, this is a very heavy topic. I
Pass
think
the
we're all-
grapes around.
We're all doing a great job. You know,
A grape job?
A grape job.
Great job. Just everybody take a breath. for
But
God's
it's
sake.
insane.
It looks like a testicle, but it's really a grape, and it's got this yummy stuff on it, which is
yeah,
dates and almonds
dates,
and
almond butter,
almond butter.
cinnamon, nutmeg, pumpkin pie spice from Trader Joe's, and the little salt.
and they're very good.
And
we
you're
thank
gonna
Michaela
put the
for making
recipe when
I'll
he
put the
posts
recipe
this.
on Inside Lowell. How
them. There
about
we go. There we go.
Dating, now we're gonna do cooking,
Dates.
right?
Oh, yeah.
dates?
And
the
I've
different
got
kind
to
of
say,
Dates and
dates and Tinder. It's like a Tinder, but it's
Dates
I
and
wasn't
dating.
stoked about it when she was selling it to me on the way up.
you
there,
weren't. You really were not.
But the flavors complement each other
I'm telling you.
so well.
I wouldn't know that wasn't caramel.
All right. So Jack and Michaela, bring them in. Batch and I say we got to have some common sense and
Bring 'em in
stop
with
this.
planning.
Let's talk about when you, because you guys think that this will end, waves of people, we got that 100-year wave. So when this ends, we'll eventually find housing for everybody and they'll all prosper and they'll have filled up all the great jobs that America has to offer now. That building will become vacant again.
No, it's permanent.
What's
Permanent.
the best use for it?
It's permanent.
Put it back
Permanent.
to a hotel.
It's never going back to a hotel. It's
Back to a hotel. Jack?
I think that's the big question right now, and there's a lot of discussion happening in rooms we're not allowed because we talk too much.
So Jack,
I think
and we record it and we talk.
That's right.
it might be a if it once it's done being a migrant center, if it's ever done being that, it'll be temporary housing for homeless. I mean, I think it either goes to the state or it's not going to be a hotel anymore. That's
So
Read the tea leaves of the op-eds.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had some good
Okay.
ones.
Yeah.
The Carl Howe, Ken Frederick CTI ones talks about homelessness and shelter,
Yeah.
right? The delegation one, right? Praises the not-for-profits, right? But doesn't really talk about a permanent disposition of that, right?
Right. Doesn't want to turn over the ICC.
The Gallagher one talks about how to be the welcoming city that we've always been without sort of handcuffing our economic development by putting a an albatross in the downtown. All right. People talk. I hear a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of rumor going around. And so the thing that strikes me is in the simplified sort of blow-in world that I live in, there's kind of the Cox crew and kind of like the Gallagher crew, right? And when I mostly hang out with Coxy people, right? Because they're blue collar like me. Like they sit around and they drop F-bombs and drink.
You definitely hang around with a lot of cocks.
I love
People.
Cox. So, but I'm probably more empathetic to sort of like because I'm educated and all that shit, but I just don't vibe academic, right? So, but I get all that vibe. But the Gallagher crew or that faction, the not Cox folks, they're not all on the same page. Some of them are married into CTI tight, or the alphabet soups that you guys like to call them. And some of them are more married into downtown revitalization. And I think everybody thinks that they're doing what's best for Lowell at this point. But, what is really best for Lowell?
Can I leave open the possibility that some of them are saying they're tied into downtown revitalization when they're really trying to say no more? Nothing. Don't close the border and don't come here.
No, I know.
Or at least send them somewhere other than Lowell.
Just if 10% of the folks that are dead asses are actually trying to fix themselves and move up in the upward mobility, and only 10% of the immigrants are actually scumbag, drug addict, disease carriers, I'm going to say that there's probably 10% of the do-gooders out there that are really closeted Trumpers, all right? And just want to screw over the destitute.
I think there's still.
I think they hate Trump. I just think that when it comes to this, no.
Well, let's be
not
honest.
in Lowell.
That's a NIMBY thing right then, right?
Without adequate planning and preparation, if it's just a shit show and here's the ICC, here's a bunch of people, figure it out kind of thing, without adequate planning and making a plan for success for these people that are coming in, and like support services and all that stuff, English, all that stuff, classes, it is going to, it's not going to lead to the revitalization of downtown.
So can I tell you that there was absolutely no evidence of any planning? They just had a meeting with the House of Representatives.
That's a problem.
Everybody walking out of that room, both on the record and off the record. There's a story, Inside Lowell, InsideLowell.com, where people said it's a shocking lack of information from the governor.
So who's driving the bus?
No
Who's
answers.
in charge?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So that's the first question. Right?
Speaking of driving the bus, there are school systems in Massachusetts, not Lowell yet, but stands to reason it might happen in Lowell if they don't get on the ball, where kids showed up for the first day of school after Labor Day that the schools had no idea were coming. Migrant children showed up to school.
You've got to be kidding.
And yes, he had some older kids working as interpreters, working with they were, and some of them are saying, and this is in Massachusetts. This is all news story. Again, if you listen to the stories in New York and Chicago, while I take joy in the fact that it's Democrats saying these things, because you can't throw it on me as a Trumper, the bigger problem is these people are telling you they've already been sending him here forever, and the resources aren't here for us to deal with it. When the mayor of New York talks about a $6 billion plus budget deficit, that means that the federal government still doesn't have a plan to supply them, which leads me to believe that's the same reason here. For Lieutenant Governor Driscoll and Maura Healey not to answer these questions of the state reps means they don't know the answers yet either.
I will say that.
Or worse, they know them and they're not sharing them because they're that bad and going to be that catastrophic. But my hunch is they don't know the answers. Yeah. So that points to me that we're not ready to handle this. It's nuts to do it.
I will give credit, and I don't usually do this, to the Lowell Public Schools administrators, that they
all 350 of them.
So yeah, they took a couple of buses to have a meeting, but they put in the budget for this. They planned for an influx of migrants, and I give them credit that they
plan for the normal influx of migrants, because they do get a bunch every year. I don't think they plan for this number in their budget.
No, and Gene Franco, a decade ago, created a whole program, right? An isolation where kids come in and that they're worked up so that they can integrate back into the full school system. But there's an intake process for them.
You know what I think is going to happen as you talk about the two camps and everything? I think I'm predicting that the downtown revitalization is still going to happen, but it's not going to happen in what we consider downtown. I think Central Street area, I think they're giving up on it. I think it's going to be from almost like Palmer or Market, up towards Upper Merrimack, the link between City Hall and the university is where
East Campus.
Yeah, that whole new development comes in. A lot of that properties.
That Merrimack corridor, Market Street, that has. They just put that whole new. Mm-hmm. What's that called? It's this side of the bridge, the Howe Bridge.
The one they're building.
Oh,
yeah, the brand new one.
University Crossing.
Yeah, that's you're gonna see. I think something's going over at the Olympia. Yeah. You're gonna see that's where the development's gonna be. And I think the shift, you're gonna have Social Service Island down here, and then you're gonna have like East Campus up there. And I think, I made a joke about building a wall, but like I do think that there's going to be kind of the shift of where the development is going to be up there, and they're going to just kind of let this go.
It's less of a lift than trying to fix Appleston Street, but the courthouse is just, they built that sandwich, what's that place there on the deli place?
Courthouse Deli.
Yeah, like all those people that are investing in that space, but it's much tougher because that's our methadone mile.
The courthouse
Yeah,
down
that
there.
Appleton Street sort of.
Well, and you're not going to get a lot of how much business do you get from like the family that goes to court together? They're going to go out to eat after, like, or just the, or
They
like
might be
I
celebrating
thought the
something.
idea
they
was
could be celebrating,
the workers in there because you combine 3 courts into one building.
but everybody wants to get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
Like you're in and
all
out.
the people that are working around there.
But
that's
but
great.
but back to the future of the ICC. There's a third thing I'm hearing stories about. So one is, you saw the CTI editorial, like turn it into a permanent housing solution for whoever.
Well, they tried to get
Well,
edge.
correct.
Right? So they're looking for a place to stack them like cordwood.
Correct. So that's the one thing. But you've got, as you said, some real good left Democratic, liberal leaning Democrats who are like, no, this needs to be an economic development engine. What about the potential of solving some of your housing by doing a kind of a hybrid, kind of like the university had? University had dorms, but still had some hotel rooms. Why not? Why can't that be a housing and some hotel rooms?
Oh, like permanent housing?
Permanent housing.
And some hotel
Now, I'd prefer market rate, but we have a housing. Everyone's talking housing. We have a
That's-
housing price.
So to take the ICC and have some of it be
Convert the dorm room area
Like a
because
permanent
the
residence.
university had already partitioned it off.
And use
Convert that to housing of
keep
some
the
sort.
conference space kind of thing.
But you still have the first floor
Yeah.
conference space,
That
economic
makes way
development,
too much sense.
and you still have whatever that number is, 35 hotel rooms or whatever permanently.
That's a great
That
idea.
could go up with another potential hotel.
That's a great
And
idea.
I would say that even if I
That's a great idea.
didn't have a vested interest in one of those components. But is that a better solution than? Well, it's definitely. Can we all agree it's a better solution than the?
Well, who would run the
CPI
hotel though?
whoever?
Who would run that? Because UMass Lowell's out.
Middlesex Community
Middlesex,
College
yeah.
has a hotel.
Oh, that would
Has
actually
a
be.
hotel and hospitality program,
yes.
and they're right next door.
So there's some crumb trails, right? One, we've totally let Marty Meehan off the hook. He wants to punt the ICC so that he can focus on East Campus, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can.
And tearing down the
I think
left.
it's kind of a shitty gift to Lowell, right? But you can't blame him because if he has a fiduciary to the university, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so some people are going to be like, "Hey, Marty, do what Marty do," and whatever. Although I guess maybe there's some stuff going on with the actual transfer and the terms of the transfer, right? Not everybody's likes the taste of the pie.
Oh, really?
All right.
Marty owes some money on that hotel,
Yeah.
so they cost a lot.
Tens of millions.
They bought it cheap, but they had to convert it into a dorm and upgrade it, and they put a lot of money into it. And it'd be nice if he's going to turn it over to the state and not have to.
Is that why I saw a
pay
big
the
flag
debt
saying
service.
"Come
Wait,
here
what?
to the"?
So they're just going to erase the $10 million in debt for.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But then if he can just unload all of that, and it's almost like the ICC is a bigger version of the ball field. All right, deferred maintenance, bonds, like they had to be paid.
It'd be nice if the
Alright.
students that owe all the student debt that goes along with UMass Lowell going to UMass Lowell or whatever.
My
Well, UMass
oldest
Lowell's
daughter-
not that bad, but other it'd be
Yeah.
nice if they could just wave a wand and forgive that kind of debt. The way they can just forgive
Oh, yeah.
Forgive a lot
all
of it
the
if it
up-
stops sending
all
money to
the
Ukraine.
upgrade-
Like that.
They,
right.
they don't forgive it.
It's
They
just-
just shift it to somebody else.
Well, they shifted to taxpayers.
Well, and we're talking about
But so Middlesex might be.
so
a play.
Middlesex. All right, a crumb trail, right? So you should even though it's a grotesque conversation on that one particular thread that's like 225 comments right now, and most of them are totally bigoted and there's a few that are blatantly racist, right?
Like the one about people that are homeless.
Let's
No,
not.
when you call people Mexicans,
Let's not.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, no.
Well,
Come on, really?
The most common
Come on.
Facebook post in the history of Inside Lowell with that stupid poll question. I haven't read them all.
Anyway,
buried inside that is
Jesus.
a conversation between Scott Plath and
Ray
Raymond
Weicker.
Weicker. Right?
oh, I read that.
And right.
Yeah.
And so it sort of starts out with Plath, who I'm sure is probably part of that clique that wants to do economic redevelopment, right? He's praising the Gallagher letter, saying, Gallagher's brilliant.
That was the very first comment on that
He's
thread,
got
by the way.
the best hair, all of it, right?
You can't
Not
deny
as good as Pangy, but pretty freaking good.
Oh,
They-
best hair in Lowell.
Dan Shanahan.
Oh, Shanahan.
I like this. I like this.
Michael Gallagher.
Yeah, we gotta lighten up. We gotta lighten
Oh
up.
yeah, Dan Shanahan I think wins. In my
He's
opinion.
got good hair. He's got good hair.
You got to root for the underdog.
If it's a woman though, it's between over 50 is Robin from Cobblestones,
She has great hair.
and under 50 is Riley.
Yeah, for my wife was on this. She's got great hair.
She does have great
She
hair.
has great hair.
So Plath and
We need a rubric.
Weicker,
We gotta. Sorry, go ahead.
Plath basically, is going on about economic development, and Gallagher's the smartest guy in the room because Eric Gitzier isn't in the room, right? So that,
Jesus,
hey there.
He has good hair.
So
he has good hair.
does.
he's got to grow it out though. He's got to grow it out a little
Good
bit.
hair, yeah.
And then
Better than his
Weicker's going back and forth about, hey, why don't we turn it into some sort of campus kind of thing where we can have teaching? And Plath points out, well, they teach that shit over at Amherst, so we're not going to do it over here, right?
Really good.
And then
Why can't you do both? Why
and
can't
then
both?
Plath pointed out, but Middlesex has and I actually went in and screen grabbed their website, right, and posted because they do have
Hospitality.
hospitality
Yes, they do.
section.
Do they have like
right?
a culinary thing too?
Culinary arts. You know who does culinary arts?
The Vogue.
Youth Build
Oh.
and
UTech,
UTech,
yeah.
and the Vogue.
The
right?
Vogue has a good
So
culinary.
we have kind of like disparate raw ingredients here, and it would take somebody with vision and I don't know, money from the state maybe to kind of put that all together.
That would work.
All right. So
I
that
love this.
Middlesex Community College, with obviously a bunch of support and somebody with vision and chutzpah, could potentially put something together.
What's his name that runs Middlesex? That guy's pretty smart.
Phil Sisson.
Yeah, I could see him putting something together.
He's brand new, so like I don't know if he wants to. Look, if Marty can do his legacy at East Campus, and the other big legacy of Marty is tapping into alumni donations, which is the whole Division I push, which is why I don't think LeLasher is going to be razed to the ground.
They might keep half of it.
He has to.
Some of it's coming down.
Baseball. What do you do? What do you do with the baseball?
He needs
team?
a Division I baseball.
What are you
facility.
going to do with his baseball field? Did they offload the West Campus? Because that'd be a good place to
not
put all those people.
No, they tore it out on the
That's too
building.
close to Chelmsford.
They tore it out on the building, so
Did they?
yeah, I have granite from there on my porch. I made a table out of it.
All right, we're more than an hour in.
I have to say the sustainability summit thing.
Yes, so I want to. I think by the time we do our next pod squad, we'll have some more answers to the Unit Conference Center, and maybe some people will come to reality. But you, Mikaela, want to talk about the sustainability summit.
Yes. On Saturday, November 4th.
Oh, you sent me something to post on the website, right?
Yeah.
I'll do that tomorrow. Okay.
So Saturday, November 4th at LTC, Lowell Telecommunications Center, we're going to have our annual Lowell Sustainability Summit, where we are currently open for nominations. If you know a person or a business that deserves to be recognized for their efforts in sustainability, whether that's like advocating for energy efficiency or, helping the schools not get closed down when it's too hot, or, a restaurant that uses compostable things and has heat pumps. I know you have heat pumps, but anything like that you think of someone that deserves to be, deserves to be recognized. Please.
I'll have you know, the very first green restaurant in Lowell was the Athenian Corner.
Ding, ding,
Ding,
ding.
ding, ding.
So yeah, please.
'Cause I've got a green thumb.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Green.
Green money.
All right, so people.
Yeah, so it's Saturday, November 4th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're going to do some breakfast stuff, some yummy lunch stuff. Maybe I'll make these grapes and bring them by. And we're going to have just some like really good conversations, networking, and I shouldn't say networking.
Are we allowed to drive our cars to the summit?
You
or
can
do we
drive your
have to
car.
bike?
You can drive. You know what? If you took the bus, you'd be late. So drive your car. No.
They may
You
have
can
the
walk,
they
you
may
can
have the
walk.
bus lane open by that point
Let's
because
see.
they've painted them now. The bus lane.
I like
the
it. The
overpass.
Lord Overpass looks pretty damn good.
You know what?
I gotta say,
I think I was wrong. It's not that bad.
it looks pretty good.
It's a lot of money for something that could have been done.
You know what should be nominated? That guy who made it on Reporter Matt WBZ.
Oh, the guy in the
driving
little car.
around. Did you see? He finally, like Reporter Matt from WBZ is like my hero. Like he's awesome. Have you ever seen his like short
Yes.
video? So he
He's the
finally
best.
came to Lowell, and you know why? Because of that guy that drives those toy cars around.
Oh, he did a story
He
on
did a
him.
story?
Oh yeah, it's
I saw him
fantastic.
downtown the other day.
It's so good.
So I've seen that guy at 11:30 on a Saturday night going down Chelmsford Street.
Really?
And then I saw him in the middle of the daylight coming across Shattuck Street towards the parking lot at Athenian Corner the other day while I was on the phone with somebody and commented on it. Here's my question.
I saw him on Foster
Those are
Street,
kids'
on Foster
toys.
Street.
Whenever I have any for my kids, in 15 minutes, that stupid battery dies.
So I think he souped it up.
He's super.
So this guy...
He's got a radio
How
in
the
it.
bleep does this guy
He's
get to
super nice.
downtown in Chelmsford Street? How does he not know?
So he drives-
Unless he's got girlfriends, or is he
drives 5
stealing the
miles.
Tesla Chargers?
I don't know. I would be fine with it. You know
drives-
what?
Trying to
He
demonize the guy.
drives. I guess he drives 5 miles to work in Chelmsford in that.
In that car?
In that thing, and he doesn't have to pay car insurance, which is so smart.
Really?
Yeah, I was
don't think
gonna.
he
So, and this is on Matt the Reporter's story?
Yeah,
Oh,
really
right.
good.
Look at this.
It's
So the
really
guy
good.
might be genius.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna post it on the Facebook
It's really
page
good.
or something?
I think
Share
we
it?
should.
It's today. He just
Oh,
posted it
really?
today.
It's
Oh,
really good, and he
exactly.
explains like he does it because the guy's kind of on
It's an electric car.
hard times. It's a really great,
good-
So he took one of these $100 kids electric
No, he
Jeeps.
found
For those
it.
of you who don't know,
It was thrown out, and he.
found it or
He
stole
finds
it.
it. He
No,
finds
it sounds like who knows.
And
but-
how did he soup it up?
He
How
had
does-
a red
how does
one.
this
Now he's
run
driving.
that far?
Now he's driving a black Mercedes SUV.
Yeah.
In the car.
Are we going to invite this guy to the kinetic sculpture race?
He should.
He should be the grand poobah of it. That'd be awesome.
He should be the person.
Can
yeah.
that thing float?
No.
So, but
no.
does
He
it
could get
explain how he's able to drive it 5 miles?
He shows how he souped it up a little bit. He doesn't give a detailed explanation.
I think
but
he's
he
a
says-
small guy.
He says
What
he,
kind of battery?
He works,
No, he's...
so he works in Chelmsford 5 miles away from where he lives, and he drives it to work every day. That's what.
And
Probably-
then comes into downtown.
He probably gets there faster with the traffic. I wonder if I could take one of those to Lawrence. I need a bigger car though.
Yeah, it's he does a great
What's he
job.
going to do in the winter?
That's so that's a very good question. And also, I was thinking like in the rain, like that's gonna be a little tough. He probably has an umbrella or something. I don't
You know what sucks? He'll probably end up getting a ticket for like
From that
driving.
guy, from that guy downtown that that everyone can play.
Oh, the tick tick's gone. They
No, he's still on.
oh, there is.
I asked him.
They have a new.
He's on
Okay,
vacation.
all right.
But we did a podcast today with Terry Ryan, by the way, where he actually brought one of the new kiosks in here.
The new kiosks.
Yeah, the actual part. We had an actual parts
I
and
brought
kiosk
one
where
too.
Jack
It's
was
my
did
cell
it.
phone. Like that's
Oh, yeah.
the kiosk.
What? No, we had a real kiosk, and they wheeled it in a dolly. Watch the podcast.
Oh, really?
With Terry Ryan. It was great. They actually that thing in now 4 languages. They're loading it up for Khmer, so it's got Portuguese, Spanish, English.
Okay, but you can
Well.
also just do it on your phone.
You can also do it on your
That's-
phone.
but that's-
And it's the same app. I used it in Brookline. I
Yeah.
use it here.
Andover.
Yeah, like,
you can park in the
I love
stream in
it.
Andover.
I like
If
it.
you have an Obama phone or something like it, you can just download the app.
But people, I don't want to download it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You get dumb if you
There's,
don't.
there's no excuse not to.
Spy on.
And they have the what do you call that? The parking where you never know how many hours it's going to be till you get there. What do they call that? The dynamic parking, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It works.
And
I haven't
parking.
heard about that.
So it's different. Like depending on the day, it's different.
Oh, if it's
right.
more expensive times.
Yeah,
then
it works
okay.
fine.
Like electrical rates that they want.
Well, time of use rates, which
Yeah.
is very.
It's so great because it saves your license plate number. It's so easy.
So watch that podcast, InsideLowell.com. Terry Ryan, Lowell's parking director, with Flo, the
Her name's
kiosk.
Flo. Oh.
It's Flo something is the company, so we named her Flo.
By the way,
And we created the kiosk camera. We had a camera pointing right in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you could see the screen.
Smartest guess you ever had.
But by far the most entertaining guess.
I'll tell you what, though, we came up with a solution to
There
it.
was
We
a
all
dig at
agreed
you in
on
there, by the way. So
What?
when you watch the podcast, there was a dig at you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From Terry?
No, for me.
Oh, good. There you go.
So before we sign off, because we are in an hour and 8 minutes.
Oh boy.
God, we can talk.
Sure can.
I want to talk about motion sickness. We're recording this on Monday, September 11th. The City Council meets tomorrow night, Tuesday, September 8th. 23 motions left over from previous meeting or meetings.
Well, it's because that stupid ADU thing.
16 new motions on the agenda. They knew they had 23 new motions and yet filed 60 new ones.
16?
16.
Went
One-
up.
Oh, I'm saying six.
And then they have like another, they go A through R. So what's that? I did the math. Is it 18? Is R the 18th letter of the alphabet? A, B, C, D,
Wait, does it go alphabetical by the name of the motion?
A, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. 18, yes. So when the manager's responses to the motions, A through R. So that's 18 managers' responses to motions. So there are 39
Isn't there a
plus
better way to
18,
prioritize these?
57 motions that need to be discussed on the agenda. So I wrote something I called it motion
I
sickness.
saw the picture you put. That's fun.
These guys and ladies need to change the way they do business. And I think by this point we know we're 2 years in now. There's no way we're going to see a reduction in the number of motions, right?
You know what would work?
And I'm not saying we should either.
I have an idea. There should be like guidelines for what qualifies as a motion. This might already be in place, but what qualifies as like a motion and what should be just dealt with in the manager's office.
They have to change the way they do business, right? We got to stop this stupid moments of silence.
I've never
all
liked
due
the
respect to those
I've
who've
never
left
liked the
us that
moments
need to
of
be honored. The presentation.
That's how you pander for votes.
I'm glad everybody jumped into the
I
cold
never liked
water, and I trust me, I supported those people through radio and through this. Great, all these people do wonderful things. That's got to happen 6 to 6:30 in the mayor's reception room. At 6:30, they got to get down to business.
I like that.
And they got to stop it. And they also, by the way, if business ain't done at 10:30, they got to work.
So that's 3 minutes.
We don't close the kitchen at the Athenian until we've cleaned it and turned off all the flames.
So it'll be 3 minutes promotion for 57 to get it in 3 hours.
They also need to
Get a shot
Is it
clock.
time to go away from the every other week meeting in the
Yes.
summer? They can't keep up. It's insane to continue to do business the way you did under a different form of government when we're seeing what's happening. And they're now just paying lip service to these motions.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're important enough to file in the first place, then for the love of God, address them.
And all the bundling.
When you put them in. Exactly. That when you start bundling this thing, that just tells me these motions ain't that important.
That's not
And
true.
So
No. I'm not going to buy into that.
Well, they bundle a lot of important motions.
Well, the thing is that you can dog it up front when you're just speculating with the submission of the motion, and that tends to be a little bit of some grandstanding sometimes by the councilors, or you can dog it when it comes out as a motion response. If I had a choice, I'd have them dog it as a motion response, because then the administration they can't not answer it. Like they had the opportunity. So if we were going to drag any particular motion out, I'd do it with the response, not with the motion itself.
But they kind of, we want a report, so it creates, I don't even know how many hours of busy work it creates for a department head or whoever.
Yeah.
And then it comes out and, the maker of the motion says, I want to thank the manager, I want to thank the parking director, I want to thank the police chief for this very good response, and blah, 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 blah. 90% of the motions responses get just paid lip service to, and it goes away, which basically, why couldn't you just make why couldn't you just make the phone call?
Well,
And ask the police, can I get a report on how many arrests were made for riding your bicycle on a sidewalk or whatever, rather than making a motion about it?
Transparency, that's, you had the Bernie Litch administration where you had councilors dogging them so they could get rid of them so Kevin Murphy could come in. Then you had Kevin Murphy come in, and we went from 2.5, 3 hour meetings to 45-minute meetings. Were you doing less business, or was just being done under the table? That's not transparent.
Well, you have a different council now.
And Eileen, I don't think she was actually any much better. She was just a Betty Crocker version of like Kevin Murphy.
That felt sexist.
Whatever, she's smiling, pleasant.
I'm
right?
just gonna say
Betty Crocker is what the friends of Jean Shaheen call her. Okay? So if I'm being sexist against the former city manager, no more sexist than the friends of this current senator are being.
You're a sexist.
She's more pleasant. She's
You're
just
just a sexist.
She's just a more pleasant
Perpetuating.
version of Kevin Murphy. But regardless of all that, there's a couple of things that could happen. One is
So Kevin Murphy
they could put them in. They could put the agenda together, right? And then the manager could go to his staff and say, "You read this motion. Do you have any questions about it?" So that the department heads don't need to be there for the meeting per se. Then the councilors could say the motion speaks for itself, because that means that the councilor is kind of waiving any sort of nuance that he wants to or she wants to put onto the, I have this idea, but I want you to pay particular attention to this, right? If it's the motion speaks for itself, then the manager then has the opportunity to say, "Counselor, just point of clarity, are you interested in, firehouses or fire hydrants?" Like something like that, right? But they would only know that if they had spoken with the department head ahead of time, right? Then when the motion response comes out, that's when you could really dig in. The managers and the department have really had a chance to sort of flesh it out. There could be dialogue then with the author to sort of hash out like what were some of the intentions there. But then it all plays out in front of the public in the motion response.
Yeah, but there is a cost in labor to responding to so many motions, right? That's whereas perhaps a simple phone call.
Well, I know a handful
take
of
care of
city
that.
councilors that will tell you that the amount of motions and types of motions are a symptom of a disease of inefficiency within City Hall. And if the city manager would grab his ordinance employees by the short hairs and get them to toe the line on operations efficient. Who do I sound like now?
So wait, so you're gonna solve inefficiency by creating paperwork?
No, you make
put the burden of responsibility on the people inside City Hall to just do the job without emotions needing to be happening.
That's right. If they're doing the jobs that need to be done because scheduled maintenance is not be, let's just say.
Yeah, I have a perfect example of this, by the way. But I can't. I don't think I should.
I'll go with something that we know about. Councilor Getzier, Councilor Robinson, Councilor Scott have all, but particularly Councilor Getzier, right, have been talking about, and Getzier and Robinson have been talking about creating a joint facilities program within the city and the city side and the school side, right? But they're saying we're going to build the Starship Enterprise over there at Lowell High School. We're going to have all the brand new HVAC, and are we going to have anybody that knows how to take care of it? Or are we just going to let it run itself into the ground? And so programmatic approaches to vehicle maintenance, machinery, boilers, air conditioners, right? Roofs, all of that stuff has to be done a certain way. And if the city government is run, and we've kicked a lot of cans down the road without tax increases, right? Department heads are constantly trying to stretch it, and they stretch it so thin that it breaks. Or we can just invest in the capital assets that we have and make sure.
Well, what does that have to do with making a motion? How about you make a motion, hire 50 new employees in the DPW or whatever department, the buildings department, and let them go around to the schools.
We just kind of did that with the elections department. The elections department is going to pick up a bunch of people, but how long? Like, I know the elections department because they've been short staffed forever. Yeah, for like 15 years, right? Okay, so now. So
you think you're going to solve the staffing issues by creating?
Well, I think there's an HR
mounds of paperwork.
There's an HR problem too.
Okay, so the sustainability director, that position got created and authorized, and they still have not posted that. So it's
but they had somebody for that.
The job has not been posted.
That's kind of how it's been working.
Hopefully, it won't be filled either.
So you're saying that
there's an HR there's an HR situation that is not efficient, which is like kind of the gatekeeper for operations being carried out.
So I won't pretend to know what goes into posting a job, but I would imagine it's not as easy to post a government job as it is for me to post a dishwasher job.
The city of Lowell is 15 to 20 years behind in their human resources.
Amen on that, yes.
Okay. But the short of it is, if you could get efficiencies, when we created districts, I was up and down. Taxes are going up, and they actually have gone up, right?
Yep.
Because you cannot provide Belvedere services to Centerville without increasing cost of operation, right?
Right.
And I was told repeatedly, no, there's efficiencies in the government from the people that used to work in the city and they know city operations, right? There's efficiencies there, but the labor, all right, the unionized labor will only do as much as they're sort of organized and told to do. Will they push back a little bit? I've heard some stories about, what was it like? Their punch card for the time clock was being vandalized so that they couldn't punch in and out, right? Like so, and the previous
They still use time.
administration,
They still use punch time cards.
they were blaming.
Those are still a thing.
They were blaming sort of the guys, right, for their inability to manage them. Whereas, like you have a bunch of ordinance employees that are not pulling their weight.
So what you're saying basically is all the motions are to annoy the city manager into action.
Not all of them, but
A-
a bunch of them.
A symptom of a
See, I think I have the best solution. It's just you put all the motions on a wheel and you spin the wheel. And whatever comes up, your motion stays on there for 3 meetings, and if it doesn't come up, it's off.
The wheel of motion.
The wheel of motions, and we can bet on it. It'd be great. That's how you raise money.
So
that's fair.
all right,
That's a fair
let
way.
me,
Wheel of
let me
motions.
question this though. Is that strategy going to work? Trying to push the manager into action by creating motion after motion after motion?
No,
Because
it's
it's
not an efficient way of doing things.
because I think there's a bigger problem with government that can't be fixed because it's gotten too big and you can't tame the beast. So
It's just as anti-government.
well, yeah. Well, you can label it anything you want, but
that's what it is.
Tom Golden hasn't pushed the HR director, the DPW director, the police chief, the fire to be efficient. Okay, great. Well, Eileen Donahue didn't do it. Kevin Murphy didn't do it.
Okay, but if that's the case,
some people think Bernie Lynch did
Because everybody hires their friends. That's why. That's probably why.
Well, that's government, right?
Not every government. Why?
Which
Why
one
doesn't
is it?
Why doesn't every other
Which one
city?
isn't?
Why doesn't every other city in town have this problem with motions?
Of course, with
Some
motion-
do.
well,
Some do. Lawrence does. Like some do, but not every
Every
Sometimes
I got news for you. Every city and town has
motion
the same
sickness.
issue. No,
Some of
not
the-
motion.
Well, that's what
Inefficiency.
Well, I'm not
some
talking
of-
about inefficiencies in general. I'm talking about motion.
Government is inefficient.
I'm talking about motion
Inefficiency and
sickness.
nepotism is not owned by Lowell.
True.
They've just mastered it.
Well,
Well, no, there's a lot of towns that are worse off than Lowell. I'll tell you that.
There's nepotism in the private sector, 100%.
You hired my daughter. I really
No,
appreciate it. But that's networking. in the
Networking,
private
no, but
sector.
that's nepotism. Trust me, every Fortune 500 company has some VP's son who's working.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. Here's the difference. Inefficiencies in the private sector leads to a loss of profit, and eventually you go bye-bye. In government, they have an easy fix. Raise taxes.
They move you to
They raise
Middlesex
taxes.
Community College
Well-
or to the Lowell Housing Authority.
Or raise taxes. So
Career center.
you can be as inefficient as you want, and then you also create, you kind of create this thing where it's hard to get rid of people from government.
So why?
It really is.
So why do you-
once government builds something, it's gone. You never see government cut.
Try getting rid of a teacher.
Try
Or administrator,
Try
rather.
getting rid of anybody.
What happens if you made their retirements? One thing about government, right? And now at the age of 49, I joined the government, right? The state government, is if your retirement was portable. Like once you're in the PERAC system, where do you go? Like you pay in 5 years, yeah, you could just cash out and take your money. I know people that have done that. Once you're in 10 years, that's a little bit more, and now you're like, oh, I'm vested, so now I'm eligible for health insurance, right?
So you're
Things like that.
incentivizing people
But
staying.
That's right. Whereas if you were, and this almost sounds like a Republican idea to get rid of pensions, right? But like if your pension went with you, so then you wouldn't need to
should.
stay in state or city government in the PERAC system, right?
I mean, a pension is basically just it's a 401k in a different suit.
But if we got rid of the pensions, how would we find city managers at the end of their careers?
What if
I agree with you with that model of pensions needing to be portable.
Some people have talked about changing the city manager's package so that it's not just an extension of their state house life.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we've got one now
Which
that.
would be great, but what's to stop a professional manager from professional managing for 20 years to maximize their pension? Why do you hate the elected politician, but you don't hate the career politician?
Well, because at least they've got experiences.
The career manager
So
who's doing
Bernie,
the same thing.
Bernie Lynch came out of Chelmsford after stacking years and years and years.
Yeah, he didn't go to the private sector.
No,
he came to the
he
Lowell.
came in after he sort of maxed out in the public sector, right? But I'm going to tell you, there's one of the things that, not to fully dissect that, because I think that's a show unto itself, right? But if you want to talk about political versus professional, one danger of a political city manager is if I'm a state rep for 20 years, all right, I have a political machine around me. I've been playing, kissy bum, what did I say? Kissy bum bum, right? With everybody for 20 years. And I have a network. If you're a city councilor and you start coming at me now that I'm the city manager, you're not, it's not just me. If I'm an elected official from Fall River, fuck you. Like, who are you going to go to? You're going to run to Pangy and be like, hey, Pangy, help me out with this. Pangy's going to be like, I don't even know you.
And you don't think Bernie Lynch had that?
He did because he was next door. All right? He was next door.
Bernie Lynch took out two very powerful businessmen
What's her name?
from off the city council. Bernie's as powerful as any elected lifetime state rep.
He had,
and still is.
That's because of some of the clan politics, right?
Okay, yeah. So
You're talking
professional managers have their own little network. So who do you think is determining who the town managers are in Tingsboro and in Drayton and whatever?
They brought
the Mass Municipal Association.
They brought him in to kind of flush the toilet, and then first of all, our economics were in the shitter, right? Now, I used to, when I was young and sort of brash, I used to blame John Cox for the way it was done. But I think now that the reason why the tax rate was kept artificially low was so that we could move all these mills to Martinis. And I don't think John just imagined that all by himself. I think he did that sort of in collaboration with people.
Forget the ICC talk, forget the Jack has now admitted that he almost kind of forgave John Cox for that graph that you posted. How many times? How many times have you posted that little graph? You and Lynn Loopy and I.
That's right.
You you didn't even need porn. You had that graph. But then you also said more of your friends are Coxiers than.
I think now, because I relate to the blue collar folks. But once Bernie incrementally dug us out of the shitter and corrected our reserves, and then also corrected our what the fuck do you call it? Our credit rating. The credit rating, the thing that your bond rating is about, right? Okay. Then the shit hit the fan, and in comes Kevin Murphy. Oh, the hog is fat again. And what did he do? One of the first things he did was not raise taxes, and he burned through reserves. Corey Belanger voted. I used to bust Corey's balls wicked about that. Right through the friggin' reserves. But you're like, hey, what?
Wait a sec. So this romanticizing of Bernie Lynch, not that he was a bad city manager or whatever, but everybody points to, in 2006 Lowell was here, and then
on the brink of receivership.
He came in and saved it and whatever, and the bond rating got saved. Okay, you do realize that Paul Cohen says the same story in Chelmsford about coming in, Chelmsford's lower bond rating at the exact same time.
This is a graph. I have a graph. I have a graph.
There's no left in Chelmsford to go after Paul Cohen. Instead, there are unions who go after
Bernie Lynch.
Well, no, they didn't go after that. Well, yeah,
right.
But so maybe there was something structurally throughout all government and municipalities in Massachusetts in 2006, 2007
what it looks like
that led to that.
Look, you buy a house, you're paying taxes or you're paying interest. Right? So the lower you can keep taxes, the more affordable it is. If you lower taxes, interest is set by market forces that are national, right? Well, the money that goes into the pockets of people selling condos, You can increase their equity in the sale price, I guess, if you lower taxes.
I give Murphy a pass though, because when you think about when he was in office, I mean, it was one of the worst economic times in the country.
But why didn't he try to protect our reserves?
No,
Because you couldn't be raising taxes. And
so Bernie was there when the shit hit the fan in 2009. He had the misfortune of doing that.
I thought that was Murphy.
No,
2008.
Yeah, he was in
and
there
then
until like
Eileen was there when the
2012.
COVID thing hit, but the federal money bailed
all right.
everybody out.
Yeah.
So,
I was off by a couple of years.
Bernie Lynch did a good job running the city. He really did. I think he did.
Yeah,
At
I
a
think
very
he did a good
difficult
job.
time.
And there was a little swapperoo with some funds, and then it left, and then it came back. This, whatever. Go to the forensics.
So we got into this discussion because of the motion sickness
Yes,
thing.
better government,
Right.
which I'm telling you is impossible. The
So
only better government is smaller government.
I think you could look at it in a positive way too, though, and say that maybe citizens of Lowell are more engaged than they used to be because of the district representation, and maybe the city
That's
councilors are more in touch with the residents and the people that are in the city. And,
Yeah, because you're hearing from the whole city now, not just from one
maybe they
neighborhood.
care, and maybe there's more visibility and civic interest in local government.
all of it
and that's a good
Could
thing.
be true. They can still trim
they
the
can
fat
manage
of
it.
emotions
But
a
they
little
can-
bit.
they can manage that. I agree, they can
But they
manage
have to
it
change the
better.
way they do their meetings. There is no way with 11
Totally
city
agree.
councilors and an every other week schedule and a 10 o'clock curfew, because God knows what
Yeah.
happens.
But it could be a symptom of something
I'd love to see these
positive.
people at 10:03. Would they turn into pumpkins? I don't know what the heck happens.
So every
But there's
other
a better way to do
But
it.
it's their first round too. Like I think most of the motions, if I remember, Ryan Gilday's
His motion track, Corey Robinson blows everybody away.
yeah, and so it's a lot
But
of
there's been some significant motions on there that Corey's also had too.
right. But I'm saying, but they're newbies, right? So I think they haven't. It's only been a year and a half, almost 2 years that they've been in there. So I think there's a way in which to still
Simple math, you've added 2 new counselors, so there's going to be multiple motions anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've added more motions, and you've added 2 more voices to speak on motions and major issues. Not everybody speaks on every issue, but the important issues, you now have 2 more voices that are going to speak. You have to add time to your meeting, or add more meetings.
I think so.
It's just simple. There's no other way, or pay lip service to everything. And
I think
more
too.
things go to subcommittee.
the subcommittees are probably less efficient than the.
See, I think if
Well,
you
then you're
also-
dealing. But if you have things go to subcommittee, if it's a motion that can easily be addressed, and it's literally just hey, so and so needs $500 for a budget for something, and just talk to the right person, and that's it. That could be quickly addressed in a subcommittee meeting, and then never even have to go to a full city council meeting.
maybe they should hire a doctor of motions like the school department would, and they assess your motion in
Chief motion is
motion
yeah,
officer.
the chief motion officer, the CMO, and figure out if it's motion worthy or not.
I smell
Let's add more bureaucracy.
I just
to the
don't-
overbureaucratic-
$100K a
I
year.
don't like the idea of handling it through email, because the business of the city should not be done under the table.
Yeah.
But
But material business, not things that are just little piddly things.
Yeah, but does anybody do people write motions? I would assume that when you write a motion, you run it by a bunch of people first.
Of course,
not all of them.
Wait, is that illegal?
as long as you run it one at a time, it's not.
Okay.
It's a little different, but whatever.
Because, I know when I worked at the State House, I knew nothing was ever run by, nothing was ever, you didn't do anything until you knew you knew what the outcome
If
was
you're
going to be.
smart, you'll run it by a few other people.
Yeah, you don't come up with an idea without vetting it first.
If they're talking to me, if they're talking to you, Jack, about motions they're going to file, they're talking to each other.
They should,
To some
though.
degree, and they should. I think some of those open meeting laws are absolutely stupid, which leads to the inefficiency. Maybe if they had a little more, increase the number of people you can talk to, you wouldn't have so many freaking motions.
Yeah.
Talking about ideas and on a motion, that might be one thing to get better ideas. And in that way, maybe you're getting sort of buy-in, but people calling up and saying, hey, I'm going to have a thing where, they're going to serve chocolate pudding in the mayor's reception room every Wednesday. Will you vote for that? right?
That's a good example.
That's called a whip time. Do a
I
whip
half
time.
expect that motion to be filed in the coming
Yeah, that's a perfect example of things that do not need to be voted.
That's right. But I want to first.
The pudding subcommittee has been formed.
We're going to wrap it up, but I want to take a little bit of a point of personal privilege to address kind of the immigrant issue and the
I have it circled too. Thank you for paying attention.
And so right now, people's nerves are raw. Like you can hear it kind of just in our discussions, right?
Yep.
We feel a little bit more casual or friendly to sort of stab at each other in front of everyone here and out there, right? But the social media realm, there's sort of a reaction, or some of the reaction, a snippet of the reaction in social media that's very negative and ugly. All right, and we have to be careful not to demonize people, because I think it creates an environment where it's okay to be super bigoted, and that lays some groundwork for people to be ultimately downright racist. All right, but for myself, I'm a person that, as a young man, invaded Iraq with the 101st Airborne Division in 1990. If you're going to go on social media, please, and you're going to try to fend on behalf of the homeless veterans, veteran homelessness is not a thing that doesn't exist, but there are hardened homeless veterans that are not ever going to come in. The VA, the state veterans people, the federal, they're not too bad, all right, at intervening with veteran homelessness. The people that are out, many, not all of them, right? We're always in this percentage game. They're out there because they're not coming in, okay, for whatever reason. It annoys me to no end when people conjure veterans as an argument to shit on some helpless person out there in the world, right? If you've got to argue against migrants or illegal immigrants, just keep our names out of your fucking mouths. Thank you.
Is that your point of personal privilege?
That's my point of personal privilege.
Well, do you go to the VA?
I actually just signed up to have benefits, but I hadn't until recently. And I have what's called a presumptive condition because of my exposure to whatever in Desert Storm, because they set the oil fields on fire, and I took anthrax stuff that was, and then there was this nerve agent antidote.
I thought all vaccines are okay.
So not when the Department of Defense gives it to you.
They gave them HCQ.
So I have what's called a presumptive claim, but I have good insurance. I have I have all the benefits of being a white male.
So I hear horror stories about the wait time sometimes at the Veterans Center. So to me, to know that
Are you trying to backfill why some ignorant asshole?
Because we don't know what some of these people's stories are. So listen, if somebody's going around and painting swastikas because they think they're going to gain traction now for these, what's the group, the Patriot Boys or whatever they call themselves.
I don't even want to give them oxygen.
Right. If they think that you're going to garner support because the migrants are coming to Lowell,
because it's some fertile ground.
They're in the wrong place.
Why, they around here?
I don't think it's going to work. They may be trying to get in here, unless Jussie Smollett was in Lowell for a concert recently. And I don't.
The newspaper said they were sort of living out of Fitchburg. Fitchburg is 45 minutes away.
Oh, it makes sense.
There's little pockets in Massachusetts.
It makes sense. They might try to do outreach because of the migrants. I'm a little jaded, but either way, there's no room for that. We can argue the policies of whether it's smart to keep putting people in to communities that can't handle it already. That's the thing, the whole swastika thing that you're talking about. But what I'm curious about is the veterans thing, though. Might it be possible if there are some people who do have veterans in their family, a parent, an uncle, or whatever, that they've tried to help, a spouse, and they're frustrated because they're kind of getting inferior service or inferior benefits? Or
absolutely, there are those types of anecdotes, right? But when you read this stuff all the time, and I'm an avid reader of social media, I've been doing it for a decade. There are certain types of blurtations that come out, right? It's not unlike.
It's a good word.
It's not unlike.
Not a real word. I like that.
When you see who's that the woman from whatever. If I took a postcard of a dog, a kind of shaggy, dirty dog with shivering in the snow with a gash on its nose, there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to react. They're going to emote to that, right? Just like they emote to the dog pound having fireworks next to it. There's an emotional trigger about give our money to the homeless first. And I tried to actually bring this up about we're putting the migrants in front of people that actually are in line for housing, right? I don't think that's proper. I do not think that's proper. I do think that we should help the migrants, but I don't think it's proper to cut them in line. That's a velvet rope treatment.
Yeah, it is.
Okay? I don't like that. All right? But when you read these comments, sure, some people have, but this is a game of statistics. And the blurtations all look the same. All right? It's just some sort of weird hero worship where veterans are put on a pedestal. We don't want to be on a pedestal. We didn't join to be on a pedestal. Don't advocate for us. We can advocate for ourselves. If you want to put us in the category of the shivering dog with a gash on its nose, that's your shit, and we don't need it. All right? If you actually want to go...
I'm just picturing
Saying that-
I'm just picturing Callie after a couple of pub crawls.
Like if you want to advocate, you asked me about, you asked me about an organization. I don't want to tie that organization to the shit I'm saying right now, right? But like this, that, and go help an organization, go volunteer, donate to a veterans organization, right? You think you going on the internet and right, like it's gonna change anything. Go do something.
But maybe
real.
these people, what I'm saying is maybe these people have a connection to a veteran.
But it should be,
dealt with
and
some
so they have a
frustration.
personal vendetta or whatever, personal gripe. But it should be an and not or situation when it comes to helping people.
This
It
is
should
the
be-
scarcity logic.
It's a scarcity logic.
Yeah.
You're getting it. Why am I not getting it? But
Because there is
and
a
that's why
scarcity.
I asked the question of what would a city that's prepared to take people in look like? Is we can have an and not or situation if we plan ahead, and we have the resources given to us.
We're back where we started. I'm going to respectfully disagree, but the good thing is we've got plenty of time to talk about it because it's going to be an issue that we'll see if it pops up as a campaign issue. How big of a campaign issue it pops up. But Jack Mitchell, Mikaela Hondros-McCarthy, Batch, Mike Beck-Chagalupo, as always, the Pod Squad. It's good to get back together. We'll do this
All right.
again next month.
Sounds good.
Before we leave here tonight, after we shut this off, let's set the date so that we don't have to worry about
Oh, that'd be a good idea.
That's a good.
Yes.
Wow, look at us planning
Wow.
ahead.
Wow.
Planning ahead.
Wow, I like it. All right, thank you. And thank all of you for watching as well. InsideLowell.com is the website. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.